So I thought, okay, we'll Google Julielle with a fan. And I don't know if this is a typo. I don't know what, but I found this. It looks like Julielle with a pan. What is that exactly?
Hilarious. Wow, you said you definitely delivered. Okay, this I'm not really sure where you found these on the internet, but they're funny. This is real good. This is good dirt, Jeff.
Okay. Hey guys, my name is Jeff McMahon and I play the piano for people. I've played on some big records, played on some big stages, and I've played with some big stars. Big or small, they're all the same. Taking someone with a dream, playing their song, and trying to get them further up the ladder. So that's what we'll do here. Have a conversation, maybe shine a light, and play some music. And I'll be on piano. This is McMahon on keys. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you,
Julielle.
Thank you, Jeff. Happy to be here. Such a cool spot.
You were saying that this is your first podcast.
Ever. First interview, first podcast,
because
like in
you've
person.
Turned all of them down, and I was the first one that.
Yeah, there's been millions, knocking on the door.
Yeah.
No, I did do one phone interview with my band in Santa Barbara. That was a while ago, and it was with 5 other people. So, yeah, it helped a little bit.
Well, okay, so I know you've got the 3 songs that 4 now. Right?
Now 4, yeah.
Now 4, yeah. You've got those, so I'm surprised that you haven't already done something.
I know.
Like this, but we're taking care of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it reminds me of something you said when we had breakfast recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder exactly what you mean by this, because it kind of applies this morning.
Sure.
You said, uncomfortable naivete is good.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
I would definitely agree. I think that when you've been somewhere for a long time, you kind of get comfy in where it is, and the ins and outs, and you kind of know you've seen other people maybe in a similar situation, and you're like, oh, that went that way, so maybe I won't be able to do that, or I don't want that to happen to me.
Right.
But I feel like when you're new to an area, if you're open-minded enough, the lack of knowledge of previous experiences that other people have had, I think gives you a leg up, because then you're kind of just open to the best experience, and you're not kind of jaded by other experiences that other people have had. So,
right.
I feel like that's really true for me. Like when I moved here, I didn't do a lot of research. I kind of just picked a place to live, and it just felt really natural to me to move here. And, so I didn't know that when you play around, like you have to play your own songs, and I didn't have any songs, and
right.
I didn't know what it would feel like to sit there in front of a bunch of people and play your own music. And then when I did, I was just like grossly underprepared. But it was a learning moment. And I feel like if I had been nervous beforehand, and if I'd known what it entailed, I probably would have been less inclined to do it, if that makes sense. Well,
no, sure. Being here means being here in Nashville.
Sure.
You came here from Santa Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
Now certainly there's something to be said. I've been in those situations where it's oh my gosh, you did that. Wasn't that scary?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, was it supposed to be scary?
Exactly.
Exactly. Right. I didn't know it was scary.
Mm-hmm. The amount of conversations that have gone exactly like that.
Yeah.
I could buy a yacht. It would be nice.
Well, have more of those conversations and buy me one.
Make it rain.
Are so you're having a lot of those conversations because
mm-hmm.
of you somewhat blindly moving to Nashville? Is that?
I think it's more in like the smaller scenarios. I mean, just playing around by myself. Like people are like, "Oh, weren't you like terrified?" I'm like, "Well, not before. I mean, it just felt like the next logical move." And it, of course, like things can be daunting, but yeah, I feel like I'm kind of open-minded, and I'm grateful for that mindset.
Okay, when you say play around by yourself, do you mean, because most people, when they think of a writer's round, it's a round of multiple people. You mean without an extra guitar player?
Yes.
Okay.
Before I moved here, I was not very good. I probably played guitar like once or twice.
Right.
I had a few lessons when I was younger, but I never really like committed myself to playing. So when I moved here and, you get up on stage with your guitar and you play your own songs, like that was so foreign for me. Like I'd never really done that before. I've learned a lot since moving here, for sure. Had a lot of firsts, for sure.
Do you, and this applies to some of what you were doing in Santa Barbara, which I'll get to specifically, but does it take you long to make a decision? It seems not. Not
really, I guess. I mean, I'm indecisive on like which foods to eat, but I feel like in terms of like my career, I feel like I'm kind of trusting about what is the next just logical decision or logical move that feels right. If it feels right within, then I just wholeheartedly commit.
Okay. So you're saying that Nashville was a bit of a random choice.
A little bit.
But you were still coming for music, right?
Yeah, of course. So when I was living in Santa Barbara, I felt like I was very present there. I was really doing a lot. I lived in just a beautiful apartment with the ocean view. I got really lucky to get a normal rent for that space. That's now probably so much more. Great place to live, great people surrounding me. I had a job actually below my apartment in a little like corner bar called Corner Tap. And I was playing with a few different bands. And so I was covering all the bases. I was having a really fun time and I had no intention of moving anywhere. But then at my job, one of the regulars named Tim, he kind of suggested the idea. And then we kind of just talked about it a little more here and there. And then I was like, well, I've done kind of everything that I could with the people who I was surrounding myself and the bands that I was playing with there. I'd had so much fun with them. And I was kind of just wondering about how to, I don't know, just do something different. And not that those were unsatisfying or unfulfilling. I was just kind of curious about like what else was out there. And he kept talking about how Nashville was really cool and people were moving there. And so I looked into it just a little bit and I was like, oh, that seems like a pretty cool place to start a career or learn from the people who are doing that. So I think he told me about that in February. And then I ended up moving. I think he told me about that in November. And then I moved that June.
Okay. So
it wasn't like years of thinking about like, when am I going to move? What are the logistics? It was just kind of like, move to Nashville. Okay, what do I need to do up until then? Like, oh, if I move in May, I just have to find a place to live and find a job.
Right.
And then, yeah, everything else unfolded when I got here, I guess.
Okay. So let's figure out what the setup was for you getting here. Now, you were already doing musical things. You were already involved in music before college, in college. Different kinds of bands and stuff.
Yeah.
What was that? I mean, because you came here for music ultimately, right? Okay, so you were involved in the music game there.
Yeah.
What was that for you?
Yeah.
Because I know it was a few different things, but they seem to kind of overlap.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of all just stemmed in college. I'd done like musical theater here and there as a kid, and then I decided to do a like study abroad in Canada, and some guy from my piano class was like, hey, we're playing at this Irish pub in the middle of Nova Scotia. on like Tuesday night. Like, you want to sing a few songs with us? And
Right.
I saw him play at a coffee shop, and I was like, you're really talented. And so we sang a few songs, and that was the most fun that I had had in that entire time being there for like 6 months, I think. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to California. I'd always kind of thought that I wanted to join a band, but I didn't know what it felt like to perform in front of people. And so once I did that, I was like, okay, I need to go back home and ask my vocal teacher, Pam, who was always telling me to sing country music and start a band. And so I went back to her. I was like, okay, Pam, like, I'm sorry I doubted you all these years. Like, how do I start this band and where do I find these people? And she's like, well, you have to go, find bands and then ask them if you can maybe jam with them or if they know anybody who's looking for a singer. At that point, I had played minimal guitar. And then I found this band called The Framers in Santa Barbara that kind of gave me my first experience performing covers in front of a real audience.
And what are these covers? What are the first kinds of songs that you're walking in there saying, hey, I can sing some songs? What are those songs that you started with?
Yeah, well, I sang Dreams with them. Actually, they were like, oh, well, we have to audition you first because they were looking through a lot of other candidates. And we sat on the cliff at Sands Beach in Santa Barbara, and the sun is going down. It's very dramatic. Like, there are 3 or 4 of us around, and then they get out their guitar and they start playing Dreams. And someone's recording, and I think I still have the recording.
This is Fleetwood Mac.
The Fleetwood Mac. Yeah. And it was a really magical experience. I felt like really comfortable, and I felt that was like a right move for sure. And then the next week they're like, all right, so learn these 11 songs, and we have a show for someone's birthday in like 2 weeks. And so we rehearsed. I learned the songs, and it was like Arctic Monkeys, The Strokes. Frankie's a big Strokes guy, our guitarist. And so we did a lot of those like nostalgic 2000s covers that a lot of the people who were coming to our shows, aka like all the other college kids, knew. So it was basically just a throwback concert for our peers, and that was the most fun. I think my first show was a birthday show, and there was 200 people jam-packed in the back of somebody's backyard that we had like conjoined the 2 backyards. And so it looked like it went on for miles, and I was so grateful in that moment to felt that adrenaline rush that I think pulls me back to like the reason, like, why do I do this?
Sure.
There were a few moments where people were having specific moments in the crowd, and I really appreciated that I was able to create that environment for them.
Right.
So I think that just boils down to why I'm here, even, just to create environments for people where they can make memories and have a good time. That's what it's about, just having fun and feeling good. And if you're not having fun or feeling good, then just change your mind.
Well played.
There you go.
Current song title.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
So, but it was really fun to play with them in that college party scene. And then
first of all, when you're playing the college party scene, they're already expected to have fun.
Right.
I mean, when they show up, some of the first things I got to do was playing for my fraternity at our fraternity parties.
Yep.
Full disclosure, no alcohol. So their party mode was not ill-induced.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I knew everybody. The songs we were playing were things they already loved.
Exactly.
So,
easy crowd.
that made it a friendly environment.
Yeah.
But now that was with the Framers.
Mm-hmm.
Now you were also playing with another band at the same time, right?
Yeah. Well, I started off with the Framers. I played with them for about a year, and we were just doing like house shows around Santa Barbara. But I had also worked as a bartender downtown, so I was starting to make those connections downtown. And so we started booking shows there. And then I think I had made a Facebook post that I really wanted to start singing like country songs, or I was looking for someone to accompany me for just gigs downtown, me and a guitarist.
Right.
Doing some of those same cover songs that I did with the Framers, but then also more of like a chill acoustic vibe. And so I found my friend Neil and I played together a lot. Jeremy Baker and I played together a lot. And he's actually now starting his own band in Colorado, which is really cool to see all those people kind of branch out and do their own thing too.
Yeah.
And then I got with a country band called The Reserve, and they were really, really nice. The most genuine, supportive people that I've met thus far. And I still keep in touch with them. They introduced me to a lot of the country songs that I love to sing today. And I think the most prominent one in my brain is You're Gonna Make Me Lonesome When You Go. And it's a Bob Dylan tune, but Miley Cyrus covered it, and I covered it with them. And it was just the most fun. We used to play at a lot of really cool places. So that was kind of like the last thing that I was really into that really got me into like country music specifically.
Right.
And then after that, I was doing all of those at the same time plus work. So I've always kind of been one to spread myself a little thin, but still like grateful that it really satisfied every single one of my creative outlets at that point.
Well, and that's how you learn.
Yeah.
I mean, is by getting connected. I mean, learn how to do it, but also learn what you dig.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so the Reserve is the country band. The Framers seemed like, the way you describe it, seems like it was a little looser, but didn't you record a project with the Framers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, the first song we recorded was in Frankie's bathroom.
Okay.
So it was really cool.
Which is the name of the record, or that was where it was actually done?
That was where it was actually done. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's funny. I did. Okay, Jeff.
Just checking to make
no,
sure.
Yeah, that's a solid question. Yeah, it was very DIY and garagey, but I think that was the aesthetic. You know, it was just kind of like honest and raw, and I really loved doing that project with them. It was kind of more like they had chords, and then I was filling in some lyrics, and then I had some notes on my phone that, because I'd been writing for a long time, but I never really considered it as like professional songwriting. I feel like everyone has thoughts, you know, just takes that little push to make it real, you know?
Okay. Now, yes, but let's remember, okay? I mean, somebody wrote, there she was, just a walking down the street singing, do wah diddy diddy dum diddy do. Somebody wrote that.
Right. It's crazy. That's,
you know,
crazy.
We go together like Rama Lama Lama, kadingity dinky dong.
Oh yeah, that just opened a whole thing in my brain.
Yeah. So, oh well, and there's our little
Theater.
Grease reference,
Right,
which
exactly.
yeah, I didn't even get there. So we're definitely have to talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that gives you your rock stuff, your country stuff,
The
a lot
indie
of
rock
things. Now, do you think you're ready to go to Nashville at that point? Are those the tools that you came with?
Yeah, definitely. I find influence in a lot of different genres, and I think those are definitely some of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to challenge that.
Okay.
But before I do that, we're going to throw to a buddy of mine. He's got a group called Instruments for Education. It's a nonprofit that he collects instruments, repairs them if they're damaged, gives them to either schools that have no music budgets or kids that have no instruments to make sure they all have the opportunity to learn things, put their hands on instruments, learn something about music, get exposed to it. So we're going to share that, and then we're going to come back and dig into this a little bit more.
Okay.
So
that is really cool. I love that he does that.
It's a great program.
Cool.
So with that, Instruments for Education.
Hey, Troy Castellano here from Instruments for Education. We're at one of our first stops here today on a Friday. We're delivering some tambourines and some shakers for an elementary school classroom. We're at Liberty Elementary School. Hey guys, I'm Troy Castellano. We started Instruments for Education as a way to put instruments into the hands of kids. Sometimes we donate directly to students, sometimes to teachers, and sometimes to full classrooms in their schools. We're based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and we service the Middle Tennessee area. Since we started, we've reached over 100 schools and donated over 500 instruments. If you'd like to make a request for an instrument, or you have an instrument to donate or would like to contribute financially, visit our website at instrumentsforeducation.org. Thanks for supporting us, and thanks for helping keep music alive.
So that's Instruments for Education.
Cool.
Yes, it's a real piece of video. It's a real thing.
That's awesome.
We finished,
There should be
and the
more
first
of
thing
that.
she looks over at me and she says, "Oh, is there really a thing? You think we're just going to take the break just to accommodate the release of your song today?"
Jeff, you're a man of many jokes. I can only assume that you just, tried to think of something, an elaborate situation, and you came up with a whole speech about it. That is totally on brand. Come on.
Okay, well, let's let everybody know today's a special day for you.
Yeah.
It's actually the drop date for Change Your Mind.
Yeah.
It is being featured on Radio Sobro today.
Yep.
And we thought that we were going to take that break in order to listen to your glorious intro as they played your song on the radio.
Which we totally did.
How did you sound on the radio?
It's honestly, Radio Sobro is probably the best intro writing. Like, whoever's on the other side of that needs an award. And I want to know who they are because they are phenomenal writers.
Yep.
Truly. And they really capture the intricacies of the artist. Like, they do their homework for sure.
Yeah.
I really respect them for that.
I will agree with you. Based on the experience that I've had with, in seriousness, Radio Sobro, they're here in Nashville. They play a lot of independent artists here, really shining a light on the songwriters and all of that here. Now, do you think they did that with your intro today?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I would.
We'll take a break in an hour when you get the time right. And then we'll try to listen to it again.
I'm sure they did a great job.
It's gonna come out here soon though.
Yikes.
What a rookie.
I am, but that's my strength.
Okay. All right. So I told you I wanted to dig in a little more in your prep for Nashville. Because you were talking about how important it is to create I'm putting words in your mouth, but to create an entertaining space, to make people feel good, feel happy, all that kind of stuff. And the Reserve and blanked on the other name.
The Framers?
The Framers. They really kind of set you up, you know, with experience coming to Nashville.
Definitely.
Now, I was hoping to find some live footage of you with the Framers.
Yeah.
So
it exists.
I was looking and I got online and I didn't find anything with the Framers. I was looking and then I thought, well, maybe they have fans. You know, maybe you have fans. So I thought, okay, we'll Google Julielle with a fan. And I don't know if this is a typo. I don't know what, but I found this. It looks like Julielle with a pan. What
This
is that
is
exactly?
Hilarious. Wow, you said you definitely delivered. Okay. This was one of the odd jobs that I had.
Yeah.
I was a princess at birthday parties. That happened also in Santa Barbara.
Okay.
So this photo shoot, I was Rapunzel.
Got
I was
it.
never Rapunzel after that. It was just for the photo shoot. I usually did like Cinderella and then I did Ariel too. So I was in that costume at one point. That's so funny. This is a terrifying photo. Anyway, it was a very fun time. I would not take that back. I think I learned a lot.
Yeah.
In terms of working with people as a freelancer. But yeah, very interesting experience.
Is that a tough audience Do you have to?
Oh, no.
No?
I mean, I love performing. My background
Right.
is in musical theater. And I also love kids. I love working with kids. I babysat kids for a while. So we did like children's birthday parties.
Right. But I mean, and I'm asking the question seriously.
Yeah.
Do the kids know, because they have their like favorite princesses
Yep.
and do you have to know like the songs and the scripts and all the things?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Right.
yeah. We did like weeks of talking back and forth with the lady who runs it. And she was like asking us questions. There's scripts, there's like reminders, like story plot points or whatever. So when the kids ask you like, where's Flounder? You have to be like, oh, he's with Prince Eric,
Right.
back at the castle. Or I think the first gig that I did with that was an orchid festival, which is a gorgeous place. And they do it in a fairground in Santa Barbara. And I basically just sat there in a little carriage made out of orchids and then took photos with people as Cinderella. And that was really fun. But I think the real value that I got out of that was creating that environment for the kids. The kids think that you're a real princess. Their parents paid for the real princess to show up at their door.
Sure.
And they're totally convinced, even though I do not look even the slightest bit like Rapunzel in this photo. The only thing that maybe you can tell is like the hair and the like corset thing, but these kids really love that, and it's so great to see their eyes light up when you walk in the room. And I think my background in theater and also just love working with kids really made this a special experience. I'm not really sure where you found these on the internet, but they're funny. This is real good. This is good dirt, Jeff.
Okay. So here's the thing.
I'm done.
I mean, yes, I'm playing it for funny,
Sure.
but the serious part of that
Yeah.
is I get so frustrated with how lax songwriters will get in Nashville doing 4 songs at a writer's round, reading lyrics off their phone. And you couldn't do your job as that if you phoned in your prep.
Right. You
as
can't even have your
Rapunzel.
phone there.
Right. Well, but I'm just saying you have to know the script. You have to prepare.
Yeah.
You prepared more for that than some people tonight will prepare in Nashville to do a song that they wrote that supposedly means something to them. And they want it to mean something to somebody in the audience. And if they don't have their phone between them and the audience, they won't remember the words. And I think in seriousness, I think that's a takeaway from doing a gig like that. It's like, you can't fake it.
No.
You can't fake it. Now, I will also offer this. I don't know if you look like Rapunzel.
No.
From Tangled. Not that I've seen the movie.
Right. You just know what it's called.
I pulled it up after I found this.
Okay.
I had not seen it till then.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Yep.
I wanted my name to be Rapunzel when I was younger. So this is a full circle moment for me.
Well, we'll work it out. You may not look like her, but you look more like Rapunzel than I do when I'm on tour with Tim McGraw and our bus is leaving a parking lot and someone looks through the window, sees me and yells, "Faith!"
You're joking.
That has happened.
That's not a real thing.
That has happened.
Oh my gosh.
A flash of blonde hair. It's happened.
I mean, yeah, the golden locks don't deny.
It's happened. So
how do you feel about that?
I did not let my hair hang out the window so they could climb up into our bus.
Right.
Did not happen.
Okay. So what did you do? You just sat there and
the bus was rolling. I just acted like I didn't hear it. We just rolled on to the next show.
Wow.
Actually, I yelled out for them to calm down and just breathe.
Just breathe. I ain't her. I'm better.
Okay. So now we have the bands. We've got Rapunzel. You said that you have not really, taken the big leap with your songwriting, but you have started, and that's what you come to Nashville with.
Yeah.
Now you come to Nashville, and I don't know how quickly, but it was inside of a year
Mhm.
that you had finished the project with the Framers, moved to Nashville, recorded your first song.
Mhm.
Now that seems fast.
Yeah.
So how did you get, did you wrote your first single?
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you went from, I'm not really a writer, I don't know where I'm going, I don't know what I'm doing, to your first single. So how does that happen? And
Mhm.
I asked that question recognizing that so many people will put up their own roadblocks, put up their own obstacles, kick things down the road.
Mhm.
You didn't even play an instrument yet.
No.
So how do you get to your first single, and what was that little journey like?
Yeah. Again, a lot of firsts and a lot of not really knowing what things entailed and just putting myself in situations that I might not have been 100% ready for at the moment.
Right.
But kind of like faked it till I made it. Kind of thing. I think that, well, I knew deep down that I liked writing. One of my like second grade teachers told me that I was not great at poetry one time, and it kind of just stuck in my brain for a long time. But then when I got to college, I started writing a lot of like English papers,
Mhm.
and my English teacher was raving about me and just talking about how creative I was and all this stuff. And it kind of reignited that confidence that was lacking from before.
What degree did you get in college?
I was a comm major,
Okay.
communication and minor in theater. But I loved English classes and I loved communicating with people and learning how that works. But I think getting that confidence in college and then starting to write a little bit with the Framers and be able to fill in some of my ideas in some of the songs or the chord progressions that they already had was a little bit of a Kickstarter where I was like, oh, well, maybe I could do this. And then when I got to Nashville, I didn't really know how it worked. But when I got here, I was working at E3 Chop House in Hillsborough Village, and we'd always walk over to Cabana Taps to see the music, but also just to hang out because our coworkers wanted to hang out somewhere that was kind of chill.
Right.
It was a great venue. I saw a lot of really cool people perform there. That's where I met my roommate, Kaylin Cole,
Okay.
who we're really close now, but we met there. I really loved her voice, and we kind of connected from just after work one day. I just decided to go. But after seeing all those people performing their original music and playing the guitar, I was like, well, that's definitely something that I want to do. And if that's how I meet other people, and if that's how I can connect, then that's what I'll do. And so I was like, okay, well, I mean, same thing when I was moving to Nashville. I set a date and I said, okay, what do I have to do up until then? And so in terms of playing writer's round, okay, well, I needed 3 songs. I needed someone to play guitar for me, and I needed to know the people who do the round. So I kept coming to the Cabana Taps rounds, especially the Tuna Bop with Chris and TJ and Shannon. And then they invited me for the first time in October. And at that point, I think I had 3 songs exactly.
Right.
And one of them I wrote as a co-write, and then one of them I wrote by myself, and then another one, I forget what the third one was, but I had 3, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to sign myself up once. And then from that gig, that's where I met Kaylin, that's where I met Chris, all these other co-writers that I have.
Okay.
It kind of just spiraled and snowballed from there. And so I started meeting new people, and then actually that in itself had nothing to really do with my recording process. I think the friendships that I've made through those connections will be lifelong for sure. But in terms of recording new music, I finished up the project with the Framers before I left, but we hadn't released it yet. So they released it after I moved.
Okay.
And I really respect them for that, and thankful that they wanted to still include me and still go through with, releasing the music that we really spent a lot of time on. And so it was cool to see that come out, but then also be kind of working on something new at the same time. I had come to Nashville for the first time with my mom on a whim. After I was kind of like, oh, Nashville's a cool place. Well, my mom had a few days off from work, which never happens. She's just the hardest worker that I know. And she's like, why don't we just go to Nashville? And so we went for a weekend, and the first place we went, because we were just hungry, was Live Oak. And I was blown away. It was Aaron Pax Taylor, Chris Sly, Kaylee Bishop, and one other person.
Right.
And I was just floored by the talent. And I was like, that is what I want to do. That is so cool. Like, how do I get there? So afterwards, I went up to him and I was like, hey, my name is Julielle. Like, I don't live here, but I really like your stuff. And that's really cool that you wrote that one Rascal Flatts song. And so I just followed him on Instagram from there. And I mean, of course, I didn't see him for a few months because I went back home. That was in March. And then I ended up moving here in June. I saw him play at the listening room because he was the only like person that I knew that lived around here.
Right.
So I saw him at the listening room and he's like, oh, hey, I'm doing a production class in August if you want to join and learn how to use Logic and kind of record your own stuff. And so at that point I was like, heck yeah, sign me up. So I went to this class and I got to know him a little bit more. And then he really liked one of the songs that I recorded. I mean, obviously it was very elementary
Right.
but the core, song, he was like, I really like that. And I would love to entertain maybe working with you. Maybe we can talk about it over coffee. So we met a few times and he was like really supportive and encouraging, and he seemed like he was down to earth, wasn't going to take advantage of me, and I just had a good feeling about him, and I felt comfortable talking things out with him, which
Right.
I think is one of the really most important parts of working with someone is just, can I trust you?
Sure.
And is this product going to be good or me or authentic? So I had a really great experience with him. He's been really great and one of my most trusted confidants. And we started recording in February of last year.
Yeah.
And we recorded all the songs at a studio in Gallatin, Tennessee, which is so cute. It's a little like apartment / studio.
Yeah.
And it was very roomy. I think he really understood like where I was trying to go with the music and, live band, authentic lyrics, not too overproduced, but just like very kind of earthy, but also funky,
Right.
So I think it was a great balance. And obviously, there's some hiccups here and there with things. And
Well, there's
everything's
string
not gonna
buzz
be
on
perfect.
Hotel California.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly. Well, I mean, not even just technically, but like things
Yeah.
that happen around. And then, nothing bad necessarily,
Yeah.
but just doing what I can at the moment with what I have.
Sure.
Sometimes that's limiting and sometimes you learn from it and then you do better next time, which is totally what I've done. But yeah, that's kind of just been the process for me, is just kind of, again, just doing the next logical thing, which, okay, how many songs do you have? 6. Okay. Of those 6, like how many do we want to do? And, are they good enough to put out? And I really trusted Chris on his opinion about that also.
Well, and all of that's part of the process. Now the thing is,
100%.
as an artist, that's always going to be never ending.
Mm-hmm.
You're always recording things while you're thinking about what you're going to record next, releasing things while you're thinking about what you're going to release.
Yeah.
Talk about being here less than a year and having a Spotify account with your first song on it.
It's pretty cool.
I mean, for all the reasons that you're not gun shy about taking a class, or what you had talked about, the I forget exactly what the phrase was, naivete, and how that kind of lends itself to it. I mean, that's there's a lot of people in town that would still be asking questions about, how do I do it? Well, how do I do it right? Well, how do I hit the algorithm? Well, where do I get the art from? Well, all the things. And I mean, there had to be a point where you were like, trigger pulled, there it is. I can send you the link. That's me. I'm proud of it. I learned this to do on the next one.
Yeah.
Because even if, and I'm guessing some of the songs you've got, you recorded all together, but you still put the first one out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when you had something to share with people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, there's got to be, I never pursued an identity as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
You did. So you want to be an artist. People are doing what you want to do. Now you have an account. You have a link. You can say, here's my first one.
Mm-hmm.
Did that change your perspective on what you were doing at all?
100%. And that's really cool that you say that, because it just takes one. And once you get the momentum, once you start thinking in a direction of like positive thinking, I feel like it changes the trajectory so much. As far as like just a concrete thing, I think that was my original goal moving here, because, you know, you can talk about your sound however much you want. But when you have a concrete example of what you want to sound like or what you want to sound like going forward, I think that makes it easier on yourself, because you don't have to sit there and kind of explain how you want things to go. You're just like, okay, well, this is a reference. This is a concrete reference that somebody understood, that I actualized.
Right.
And I'd like to do more of that. And so that to me doesn't sound as daunting as like, oh, whole EP. It's like, no, just do the next thing that's in front of you and the thing that inspires you the most.
Right.
And then the rest will kind of fall into place at that point, I've found, naturally. But again, yeah, still just figuring things out. But it's definitely a lot easier to be like, oh, what do? Here's this concrete example, rather than like, oh, like I kind of try to do this and I'm sort of doing that and whatever. It's so much easier to either connect with people or get help when I have a concrete direction.
Well, or you take the first step and realize it's in the wrong direction, so you know to turn around.
Mm-hmm.
So, so then you did Stand By,
Mm-hmm.
Stand By, which was probably my favorite. I don't know.
Yeah?
I go back and forth, but
I was going to ask you that. You saw my end of the interview question.
Probably that, and it may be just because that was the first thing that I really grabbed a hold of you as you. That was the first thing I found.
Mm-hmm.
I like Respect.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like my first dose of your feistiness was Stand By.
It is pretty feisty. Quite.
And I think now I'm thinking about the lyrics, and I may be conflating them.
I can help you.
I'm sure you know them because I thought it was such a clever lyric.
Sure.
But now I'm thinking about it. Now I'm thinking this line is from Respect. If you don't get the picture, I'll push you out of the frame.
Mm-hmm.
I love that line.
That was actually Aaron Rosing's idea.
Yeah.
The guy I wrote it with, or one of
Which
the guys.
song is that from?
That one's from Respect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That might be your favorite then.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a great line. And I think he had that line in his phone. He's like, oh, I have a perfect line that would go with the feel of this song. I already had the idea, I think before. It's really cloudy. I mean, that was kind of when I was trying to juggle all the stuff from Whiskey Wings and trying to figure out how I even did it the first time and like try to duplicate it because it just went so well on the initial push. But yeah, it was really
What
cool.
were you trying to duplicate?
Just like the way that I was authentically presenting the music.
From a production standpoint, what you did with your vocal,
From a promotion standpoint.
Oh, promotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of like the post-production promotion that I didn't really know what I was doing, but just whatever I felt inspired to do, I would do.
Well, okay. Now, I think this is an interesting aspect of what we do that people don't understand because just like I did when we had breakfast, I asked you, I said, of these songs, it looks like this one really took off for some reason. Explain what happened with that one song, because so many people are looking for angles and ways to kind of garner additional attention for things, and you weren't even trying to do that.
Yeah.
So explain how that worked, because part of that, the reason I'm asking is because part of that you can't duplicate.
Right.
You know?
It's just the magic.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So talk about what happened with that song.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's not really something that I think about a lot too, but it's definitely something that I'm generally proud of. I love talking with people. I love making connections with people and collaborating with people. I think that the most fun that I've had was playing music with other people. But in terms of that, like, way of thinking, I think I just naturally wanted to collaborate with people on Whiskey Wings. I had the idea for it after I was invited to a group write with Kaylin Cole and Justice Storm and Drake Lopez. I'd never met the two guys before, but I was kind of pulled into that write. It was one of the best ones I've had for sure. So that was already collaborative in the essence of the song,
right?
And in its beginning stages. But then after it came out, I was kind of like thinking about what to do. And this girl named Alexa Lynn came to the bar at my job, and we did this like Wind Up Wednesday thing there. And she was there to support one of her friends, but then she was talking to me at the bar. There weren't a lot of people there. And she's like, oh yeah, I design hats. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, like a trucker hat. She puts the label on. It's like, she helps people with their logos and stuff like that. But she's like, oh yeah, like, let me just follow you on Instagram. And then so I looked at my phone when I got home to see, like what kind of hat stuff she does. And it was like these kind of hats.
Right.
And I was like, oh, duh. I just wasn't even thinking that direction when we were talking, but she was so nice. And I genuinely wanted to be her friend. And I think she's really cool and fun to talk to. And so when I was coming out with a song, I was I've always been like a hat gal for sure. Like started in, that's actually funny because it started in Santa Barbara, and then I was like, oh yeah, I'm bell-bottom jeans, hat. I'm going to be so original when I come to Nashville, and I come here and everyone's wearing the same thing. And I'm like, I guess we're just on the same wavelength, or it was just coming into trend or whatever. But so I was really into hats, and I really wanted to make another hat. I really wanted to just like add to my hat collection. So I was like, why don't I just kill two birds with one stone here, promote her business by having her make a hat for the song. And then so I reached out to her, and she was so cool about it. And she's like, yeah, of course, like I'll do that. I gave her some Pinterest board ideas, and I sent her the song, and she blew me away, truly. Like, that hat is ridiculous. So good. And she was working with Travis Austin at that point. And I got to use the hat for the album cover shoot and everything. She had literally scraped the Jack Daniels label off of a Jack Daniels bottle that she got from Jack Daniels and put it on the hat.
Wow.
I was floored, Jeff. She was amazing, and she was so nice about it. So collaborative. Everything was on time, and it was a great experience. And I genuinely loved working with her and talking back and forth about what the song means to me, and what kind of color scheme we're going for, what color hat, So that was really fun for me. And then when she posted the song, or when she posted the video with my song in the back, it ended up getting like 320,000 views.
And what was the video?
It was of her making the hat.
Okay.
Yeah. So she's like burning like the letters into I don't know what it's called when you like solder. Is that solder? No.
I don't know.
I'm not a hat maker. Maybe you could ask her. Maybe that's your next video.
You wouldn't have needed the partnership.
Exactly. But she just did such a great job. All the little intricacies she got on video. And so she made a little compilation video like she does for all of her other hats. But at the end, it was me like wearing the hat, and one of the videos that I took, or that Lane Wells took for me. And then it got like 320,000 views. And I wasn't super expecting that.
Right.
I mean, a few here and there, but that wasn't my original intention. It just kind of like happened where a lot of people were hearing the song, and then a lot of people were going on Spotify and listening to the song. And I really appreciate that. And I still wear that hat to this day because I really enjoy the hat, and I love Alexa too. So it just really worked out that way. And that's part of the magic also. And I think that's when you have limiting thoughts, I think that you just close yourself off from those type of experiences.
Right.
When you're open and you're not focusing on what could go wrong, so many things could go right.
Sure.
You know? And I think that's kind of what drives me through these promotional little periods, you know, because like you come out with a song, you put so much into the front end, what the lyrics are, how to sing it, the production, who's going to play on it. But then it's a whole nother thing when you're talking about like, how am I going to promote this? How am I going to present this to the world in a way that it exists in my head, you know?
Well, yeah, certainly. And this is where I find it funny when you talk about naivete, because, you know, because you did Whiskey Wings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Standby, Respect. Now I'm trying to remember which song it was, but you know, is it naive or is it bold when you, I assume from looking at it, you can tell me if I'm seeing something different.
Okay.
But, you know, you're a new artist. You don't have a big production budget. I'm saying you were on a plane flying somewhere and you said, hey, flight attendant, will you do this for me? Because you shot a piece of video of one of those songs singing with all the people on the plane.
Yeah.
Right?
That was an interesting experience.
Now, that was not you being naive. That was you being bold.
Maybe I was, well, yes, I agree that it is bold. And thank you for that. I think it was also naive because first of all, I'd never seen anyone do that. Second of all,
which song was that?
That was Standby.
Okay.
Because like, you know,
Standby on the plane. Sure.
That was the originating like idea. I've always thought about how to shoot a video for that. But I was on my way back from Las Vegas. And then I was going back to Nashville and there was only 30 people on the flight. And so the flight attendant was cool right off the bat. She was like, yeah, if you guys want to take up your own little aisle, you totally can, or row. That's what I meant. Your own little row.
Yeah.
You totally can. There's only like 30 people on this flight. And so I was already like, she's super chill. And I was sitting kind of towards the front and I was hearing like their conversations, not that I was like eavesdropping, but just like they were just kind of around my age and just seemed really chill. And I was thinking to myself on this plane, because I forgot to download some music. So I was literally just sitting there in silence. And I'd be so cool if I could record myself on this plane, like singing this song. But usually my mom's around or like one of my friends are around to take the video for me.
Right.
And so I think it would have been a little bit more awkward if my mom were there to take the video for me. And I think it was just another one of those magical like coincidences where someone's just down to do something that you're also thinking about doing. But it was in the beginning of the flight that I had this thought. And then towards the middle, I had to go to the bathroom. And so I walked up to go to the bathroom and then I turned to the girl and I was like, hey, like, is there any way that you can help me like film a video really quick since we're kind of just sitting here doing nothing? And she's like, oh yeah, of course. And I hadn't thought about what she would say or how I would respond. I was just kind of expecting her to say yes. And I didn't think like, oh my God, what if she says no? And then I have to sit here on this plane and just act like that didn't happen.
Right.
Like that would be really awkward. But again, that's just like, I didn't even think of that. And that's where the naivete comes in.
Okay.
Where I'm not here dwelling on the things that could go wrong. I'm dwelling on the things that could go right.
That's funny.
And so in that specific scenario, she goes, oh yeah, for sure. Just like, let me know when you want to do it. And then the whole flight, I'm just sitting there.
And you
did
did not explain to her the nature of the song or any of that.
Well, I was just like, oh, I just came out with a song and it'd be cool to film a video of it.
Okay.
I didn't play her the song. I was like, all I need you to do is walk down the aisle with the phone. And she's like, oh yeah, for sure. I could do that. I'll tell you when we should do it. And I was like, okay. So then the whole flight, I'm just like waiting for her to ask me to do it. I was like, okay, well, by the end, they're like, oh yeah, we'll be landing soon. Put on your seatbelts. And I go, okay, well, I'm obviously not going to film this video when everyone is sitting down with their seatbelts on.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, maybe she forgot. And then right at the end, when we had like 5 minutes left and they were starting their descent or ending their descent, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, she's like, okay, like, do you want to just do it? How should we do this? And then her coworker was like, why don't I film it and you play the song to her coworker?
Right.
And so I was like, okay, this is what's going to happen. It's just going to take 30 seconds. I'm so sorry to like take your time here because I know you had to do a lot of other things to like get ready for landing.
Right.
So we're going to start at the end of the plane and you're just going to hold the phone right here and just walk backwards at my pace. And he's like, I got you, girl. I got you. So we started at the back of the plane. There's not like a lot of people there because everyone was kind of towards the front. We start the song. And I don't know, I kind of blacked out, honestly, because I was so overwhelmed by the situation that, so he's just filming and going back and he's like making all these faces, like filming me like a professional.
Yeah,
but then it only occurred to me after the fact, after we did the video and we landed, I got home and I was like, this video is really cool. And I was like, why was he so good at that? Is he a videographer? But it's because he's so used to walking backwards down the aisle because it's literally his job.
Exactly.
That was just, it went right over my head.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
But it just worked out really perfectly. And then he airdropped me the song and he still follows me on Instagram and we talk. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Well, I guess, okay, so there is a little naive in that, but
yeah.
I'm giving you more bold credit.
Thank you, Jeff.
That's me.
I appreciate that.
I know that we're going to show them a piece of video that we did.
Yeah.
But before that, you've talked about the friends that you made at Cabana Taps and the people that you've worked with. And you and I actually met through another collaboration of yours, which involves a couple of folks that have already been here preceding you on the podcast. But you were one of the pink ladies in Maddie True's Grease-inspired video for Long Gone John.
I love that song.
And when she brought that up, or she and I were talking about making it, and we were talking about getting this group of girls together, she knew that y'all were the group of girls. Now, what was that about, and what was that experience like for you? Yeah.
I mean, I loved meeting them at that writers retreat that we were on, that Caroline hosted. That's
so
how I
all
met
of y'all
all of
were
them.
part of that Florida.
Okay. Yeah. Laura, and Caroline, me, Maddie, we weren't in like a writing group. I think we just met each other there and then kind of stayed in contact. And then Maddie just asked us if we wanted to be in her music video. And of course, like, first of all, nicest girl. Second of all, love the song. Third of all, I am free that night and I will be there for sure. And like, just curious, like, how does one shoot a music video? You know, like, I have no idea. So, but I really loved the experience. I mean, everyone was just like putting on their makeup and getting ready, and like being in theater and being in Greece before. I think it was pretty nostalgic for me also because, putting on the wig and like, they weren't pink wigs, but they're very fun. It was just a playful, like very genuine experience and kind of mirrored what happens in like girl hangouts, minus the dramatics or whatever, but that's basically like what we do.
Yeah.
And it was great to be there to support her as well. Like, I love seeing people just having so much fun, and I'm happy to be part of that. That was really cool, and I'm grateful that she asked me to do it. But again, like, those experiences, you make those genuine connections and you never know like what kind of scenario you're going to be put in, or like how that's going to change the trajectory of what you do, because I would have never met you, would have never been at the listening room when her and Justin were playing and then played the listening room with Justin. It's just like all these things where it's like,
oh, Justin Love. That's how you knew Justin Love?
That's not where I met him, but I saw both of them were playing at the listening room and I was like, heck yeah, I'm going to go.
Okay.
Just a fun time. Like, I love Maddie's attitude. She's always smiling, and her hair is great all the time. Like every single time I see her, I'm like, dang, Maddie, like your hair looks good. And she always has the cutest outfits and just a bubbly personality that you want to be around. And regardless of, professionally working together, I love to hang out with her. So whenever she's like, oh, be in my music video, I'm like, oh, great. Another like opportunity to hang out. Or we were going to go to a punk concert the other night, but it ended up being too late. So we didn't go. But again, just like hanging out with those people on the regular and then getting to do professional things with them also has been really rewarding for me as well.
Well, that's one of the things that I love. I mean, you talk about it with Cabana Taps. Mine just extends a little longer, but I met Caroline at a writer's event a few years ago. Randy, who filmed that video, who filmed what we're about to show, worked with me at a record label long before we were doing this. So yeah, it's fun to keep good people around.
Definitely. And actually, I remember sitting at the table at the writer's retreat with Maddie and Laura and Lauren and Caroline, and they had a conversation where Caroline was like, yeah, or I think Maddie was about to come out with something and she mentioned your name and Caroline goes, oh, Jeff? Like I know Jeff also. So it was cool to see that point where they realized that they both knew you. And I think that kind of like solidified their friendship there.
Yeah.
Where
they both made the same mistake.
No. It's just like they both want to surround themselves with people who actually care and who do things out of the goodness of their heart.
Yeah.
And because they like the industry.
Sure.
Not just for, the money or whatever, their Gucci flip-flops.
Yeah. No, that's good.
So,
that's true. That's true.
Yeah. It's nice to see that too.
Well, let's show them what we did.
Yeah.
And then when we come back, you can explain why we did it and what your thoughts are on it.
Sounds good to me.
So this is Julielle.
I sit in my closet and I wonder why my work isn't finished. My heart is on fire. In some ways I'm a zombie, in some ways I'm alive. It's just how you look at it that gets you through the night. Oh, change your mind. Change your mind. Change your mind. Change your mind. Oh, why does the river twist and go round? I guess it just knows you gotta get lost to be found. This stoplight ain't stopping, this steamroller's soul. If you don't like where it's going, just take back control. Change your mind. Change your mind. Change your mind. Change your mind. Oh. Change your mind. Change your mind. Oh, change your mind. Change your mind. Oh, change your mind. Change your mind. Change your mind. Change your mind.
So that is Change Your Mind.
Yeah.
which was not the one I prepared for. I prepared something else, and then right before we did it, I was getting a frantic text message. Can we change? Can we change? Can we change? And I said, of course we can. Sure. Send it to me. I'll be ready in 12 minutes.
And you were, you crushed that. So thank you for doing that.
Why the sudden change?
Yeah. I knew that Change Your Mind was kind of right around the corner. And it's a song that I think is a little more personal to me. Again, like I wrote that completely by myself, and I feel like it's very raw and honest. Kind of a sneak peek into the depths of my brain. And I think in this particular setting, I think Respect that we were going to do is a great song, and I love it as much as I love this song. I think it's more of like a full band kind of feel. And I had already done an acoustic version of it with some of my friends in my friend's basement. And so I thought that it would be cool, since I didn't have, an acoustic. I mean, it is kind of stripped down in a way, and it's definitely less energetic than my other songs. But I think this one was just more personal, and I like the format of the keys vocal.
Yeah.
And I think that would be really cool with the Change Your Mind song. So it was kind of, it seems obvious to do it that way. And the fact that it came to me so late in the game is a little embarrassing, but you just got to go with whatever feels right to you, you know?
Sure.
And if you have a sudden change of mind, you just got to go with it and do what you can. So I appreciate you for being a good sport about that one.
Oh,
it was special.
It was great. I know Jonathan was a huge fan.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, dude.
Having done it. I'm just glad of all things. I don't typically drive around with a tambourine in the truck.
I know. That was so cool.
That's not.
That would be really annoying.
Jumper cables, yes.
Right. Well, because those don't go in your truck bed.
That's true.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I was glad I had that.
Yeah. It was a great little
I think
touch.
It was cool. Thanks for doing that.
It was great. Yeah. You did a little like jazzy and very melodic, and something that I would never have imagined myself, not being a pianist.
Yeah.
And your expertise mixed with, I guess, the newness of the song was really cool.
Right.
Like maybe if you would have heard that song 50 million times before and had just been playing it again, maybe it would have sounded different. So I think that it came out really well. And it was a different take on the song that wasn't necessarily like, okay, this is the song, I'm trying to emulate the song. It was kind of like, what is Jeff's take on this after he heard it like 5 times or like 1 time, So
Jeff's take was stay out of the way of your vocal, because you sounded killer.
Thank you.
So it was great.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this, and I wanted to ask because I just don't know what it would be in Santa Barbara or LA or whatever. I toured a bunch with various people. Played Madison Square Garden, done like some really cool things. And a lot of people will ask me, and you may not even have an answer for this yet, but, where's the coolest place you play? And is it the Grammys? Is it this or that? And, recently I got to go back to, Billy Bob's in Fort Worth, Texas. Played there with my bar band, right out of college. Played there when Tim McGraw didn't have a hit. Played there when we had big hits. Played there recently with Chris Cagle. Played there with a group called Canyon I played with in between all that stuff. And yes, it's a big honky tonk, but more importantly, it's an hour from my hometown, and I always see people from college there and all of that.
That must have been really fun and nostalgic.
Always. I mean, the guy that books the bands there booked my bar band there 30 years ago, and he showed up with our old promo picture from 1990 on his phone.
Wow. That's so cool.
But I say all of that to ask, Do you have your place that you want to play that not that's just the biggest or the coolest by virtue of what the public would say, but where Julielle wants to play? What's going to mean something to her because of whatever reason?
Sure.
Where do you want to play?
There are so many, in terms of places that I've already played, like you had your post-college experience at Billy Bob's, I think out of the places that I've played, I would definitely say there's some hidden gems, like Cold Spring Tavern or Fig Mountain in Santa Barbara. But as far as places that I haven't played that would just be awesome to play at, one of those would be the Santa Barbara Bowl for sure. Okay. My mom used to tell me about, she also went to University of California, Santa Barbara. And she would always tell me that she would go to the Santa Barbara Bowl with her friends and they would just show up like halfway through. And at that point, they would just be giving away tickets. So if you didn't have a ticket, you just show up late and then they'll just like let you in if they have any extras. So Keith Urban was in town, and it was like when I was starting to get into country music seriously, listening as a listener. And my friend Allie also wanted to go. So I was like, oh, well, my mom said we could just show up and they give us free tickets. So we get there and we didn't have any tickets. The box office is like, well, yeah, you could pay for them if you want to go in, but we're not going to give you tickets. I'm like, oh, right. It's like 2019. Like, of course they're not going to do that.
Right.
But then we ended up just bumming tickets off of some really nice person who their friend didn't show up, and we ended up getting front row tickets to see Keith Urban. Wow. And that was the coolest show I've ever been to. Other than the fact that he's just an amazing performer, it was such a special moment for me. I kept going back there. I saw so many people there, so many people in country music, so many people like electronic music, just such a wide range of performers there. And I would love to be one of them. I think that would be really nostalgic for me to go back to Santa Barbara, which also I'm going to do in May. Right. I'll be back doing a little California tour in May, starting in LA and then going up to Santa Barbara. So hopefully I can hit those like Cold Spring Tavern little places, which is kind of a little cabin-y place in the middle of the mountains up there by Lake Kachuma. And it's literally like a small log cabin in 3 different parts, and they have the best like sandwiches on the weekend, and we'd play there with the reserve. So that's kind of one of those like small Billy Bob places where the guys probably still have our promo photos from a few years ago. And I hope that to have that similar experience, but maybe just, and as far as comparing notes from, when I went there the first time, that would be really cool to see the videos that I took of those people that I've seen on the Santa Barbara Bowl stage, right, and then be able to be in that position.
Be on that place.
Because that's what inspires me. And that would be a really full circle moment. So yeah, that's a great question. I feel like a lot of people have that one bar that they love to come back to, and the place where their love for music kind of started or was developed in.
Yeah, that's kind of why I ask, because I never aspired to be an artist, but I certainly can't aspire to be someplace that I've never really been to understand what it would have even been. Yeah. I can look forward to being at Reunion Arena because I saw the Eagles at Reunion. I saw Jackson Browne at Reunion. Right. Now Reunion's gone, so that won't happen. But yeah, so I've got to come see you at the Santa Barbara Bowl. Yeah. I know that we don't know exactly when this episode is going to air, but chances are you're going to have stuff coming up. Definitely. So you had mentioned a few things some TV things that you had on the radar, or some things that are coming up. Anything you want to mention before we tell people how to track you down?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to be on Today in Nashville on February 13th. I think that's airing in the afternoon, but we're taping in the morning. And I play a lot of shows around. A lot of them are kind of like a last minute thing. But I post everything on my social media, on my Facebook, on my Instagram. So if anyone, I always tell people that I meet at my bar job, like if they're ever, have a lack of plans for the night, just
Right.
look me up and see if I'm playing anywhere because
Well, tell people how to find you right there.
Yeah. I'm Julielle, and you can find me on Instagram at Julielle Music, JULIELLE music _ or just Julielle on Facebook and Spotify and YouTube and all of the things on the internet. I regularly post about all of my shows, and if you want to come see me, I'd love to meet you.
And thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. This has been really cool. My first podcast ever.
Boom.
Boom, in the bag. Thank you so much.
Well, guys, that wraps it up for our first interview of season 2. Thank you, Julielle, for kicking things off for us. We are glad to be back here at McMahon on Keys. We have a lot of interviews already in line, ready to drop next week, February 29th. I'm going to have a very special guest, Darren Smith, who was my band leader for 18 years with Tim McGraw. He co-produced a lot of those big records. He's going to be performing a song of his own, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you guys. Also next week, if any of you are in the music industry and you are in Nashville, the Country Radio Seminar will be February 28, 29, and March 1st. And McMahon on Keys will be in the media room doing some interviews with some new artists, as well as some legacy acts that I've had the opportunity to tour with in the past. Very excited to see John Barry, T. Graham Brown, and certainly our friends American Blonde, who have already been on the podcast, and you're already familiar with them. So we'll be seeing them and a lot of others next week. Swing by and say hi if you are at CRS. Thank you to Randy Allen for putting together the video for Julielle, Jonathan Warren for helping us capture that interview, Tommy Leland for mixing the music. And thanks you guys for sticking around and welcoming us back for season 2. Until next time, this is McMahon on Keys.